I hope you have me with you because your wife isn't going to go there.
No. Oh, you're in the canoe with me, buddy.
Hey, fellow wanderers, Joseph here, and I am on episode 5, not 10, 5. Unless I'm with my brother, and I'll introduce him in just a hot second. But do you want to be episode 4 or do you want to be episode 5? Because you're my older brother, and let's just right off the gate, we will.
I'm going 5.
You want to go 5?
5.
Okay, so you'll be
High
episode
five.
5. High five. Morning. So I got my brother here. He's my older brother. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. His name is John Fehlen, and he's from Salem, Oregon. And
Oregon. It's Oregon.
what was that?
It's Oregon. This whole Oregon thing has got to be gone. Yes.
Oh, well, in Wisconsin we call it Oregon. So you left in high school basically to go wander and to go get out and see the world. You go to college, you went to the big city of Los Angeles, and you have been a West Coast boy ever since.
When I was 18, I was heading off to college, and within our circle of peers, I was looking for a Bible college to go to, and there was really two options within our tribe of churches, and it was to go to the East Coast in Virginia, and then or South, whatever you want to call that, but the Virginia Bible College, and then Los Angeles. And I was enrolled in Virginia, accepted, ready to go, and found myself excited to go, but then started thinking, why do I want to go to Virginia? I've grown up in Wisconsin. I had never gone anywhere really in my life. And so I switched schools at the very last minute, like the middle of August, and then the end of August, switched flights and went to Los Angeles. I landed in LAX. By the way, that was my first airplane ride I'd ever been on at 18 years old. Never been on air. Landed in LAX, hailed a cab, if you will, like didn't even know what that really meant, but just had to figure out the ride. And got in the backseat of the cab, and the guy said, where are you going? And I told him the name of the college I was going to, and he just turned his neck and looked at me and said, what's the address? I don't know, I said. I don't know the address. I just knew the name of the school. And I started rifling through my bags to find an address, couldn't find one. I then remembered it was something on Glendale Boulevard in Los Angeles. So I said, Glendale Boulevard. He goes, Glendale Boulevard's very big, very big. And then I remember something about Sunset. So I said, how about Sunset in Glendale? He said, very good. And he took me to Sunset in Glendale, dropped me off. I had to find the college from there in the middle of the night. It was probably 11:30 to 1 in the morning. My life morphed radically after that moment. And from that moment on, the West Coast just opened my mind. And we've now been, whether it be Los Angeles, out in the valley of San Bernardino, up into north of Seattle, or down into Salem, Oregon. So we've been on the I-5 for now 30 years? I don't know.
35 years, yeah. So you left as a high schooler, having not traveled much and having not gotten out. I can verify that part of your story. And then you experienced a little bit, and so you're out wandering. You're wandering the West Coast. If you were to pick a city in the West Coast that really is the city, if somebody's going to go visit and just experience for a while, tell me what city that is.
I was not prepped on this question, so this is
Nobody's
literally
ever prepped on. Never, always, ever prepped. This is all. I don't want anybody. I want it to come from your heart, not pre-planned mumbo jumbo.
It just came to me.
Okay.
Bellingham, Washington.
Whoa. So you're gonna go mid-sized city right off the bat. So
Yeah.
talk to us about Bellingham, and I'll put in our episode notes on our website. I'll put anything you might mention. I'll link in that so people can have that. Bellingham, Washington, north of Seattle, an hour.
It's
What do you love about
you're
that?
nearly to the Canadian border. You're up there towards Canada right now, and I've always been smitten with the San Juan Islands, and I would get up into Bellingham, Washington. There is a neighborhood called Fairhaven neighborhood, which is bohemian. It is artsy.
Hmm.
It's coffee shops and record stores, and I love it. I just love it. That style of town for me, that city with that
Yeah.
art kind of zone to it is really really attractive to me.
What
Now,
for 500 points? Name the indie rock band that bases out of Bellingham, Washington that I prefer to like.
Death Cab for
Death
QT.
Cab for Cutie, 500 points awarded to you. You can use them in your points catalog.
Death Cab for Cutie, baby.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And Bellingham and the greater Seattle area nearly revolted on Death Cab when they started going big, when they got a label. I mean, they were always the epitome of indie band. And that's to me, Bellingham. It's an indie city.
Yes.
It's got a college there, it's got a university rather. And, but boy, I'm telling you, the culture of Bellingham is pretty awesome.
But then they did a song on one of their newer albums with an 8-minute bass solo to start with, and
Incredible.
it got them right back on it because they said we don't care about you record labels, we'll do whatever we want to do.
Incredible. They're awesome.
I'm going to be playing that music right now over us.
Mhm.
Okay, cue producers, cue music, go.
You have inspired me.
Portland. Talk to us about Portland. What should people know about it that's not on your normal front page Portland travel guides?
Portland is this is well known, by the way. Portland is a very walkable city.
Mhm.
It's known for its walkability. Portlandites, if you will, Portlanders love to bike. They love to walk. It's a nature city. It's done very well at preserving nature. So it's very walkable, very bikeable, and it's built around communities or neighborhoods. Which, and you may think to yourself, well, that sounds like every city,
Mhm.
but this Portland really prides itself on these smaller subsets, whether it be the southeast area, you get into the Pearl District, you get into all these various little neighborhoods, and each one is so unique, and each one it prides itself on being what it is, and so it's kind of fun to actually go to various neighborhoods in Portland, just kind of sort of camp out there and
Mhm.
just explore its food. Oftentimes we'll grab an Airbnb and just hit a particular neighborhood and just be there. What is so great about Portland, it's got a lot of food carts, and you and I both
Yeah.
love just hitting food carts. Tons of food carts, great food, very walkable. The river is a highlight throughout Portland.
And for
But
those of
on
us
the
from
east
the
side of
those of us from small towns over here, when you say food cart, we're not talking about a carnival food carts. It's not like funnel cakes, and this is like amazing food coming out of the back of some people's trailers, like you see on the Food
yeah,
Network shows. Just amazing, some food, and there's just blocks and blocks and blocks of it. Yeah. So you're in Salem, Portland area. So you're in the northwest part of Oregon. And when you think about small towns around there, so you said Bellingham again would be mid-size, large city, not mid, not large, mid-size
right.
city. What's some small places? If somebody's going to go into Portland, do Portland, do the Powell's bookstore, do
Yeah.
some of these neighborhoods, eat and eat and eat and eat. Again, food is a premium there. It's awesome. Where would they go after that? Like within a couple hours of Portland, of just some
Yep.
small little communities. Again, we'll put these in our episode notes for those of fellow wanderers.
More and more, what's happening is there's a spread. We're seeing young urban professionals move into Portland and into the greater Portland area, and yet the prices are driving them out by and large, like a lot of big cities, and they're spreading out into what's called the Willamette Valley. And I live in the Willamette Valley. We are in the Willamette Valley, known as the Northern Napa Valley. So
Hmm.
what you have the Napa Valley of San Francisco, that whole area that's driven on the wine industry. Um, We are the second to that. And then you work your way up into Washington, into Yakima Valley, and others that are incredible too. But this Willamette Valley is so rich, the soil is so good that we've got vineyards and wineries just aplenty. So you can take a back route out of Portland going south and hit so many little towns, Newburgh, Dundee, Dayton. These are small little towns that work their way in the Willamette Valley, where the concentration of vineyards and wine tasting and some incredible food exists that you wouldn't know of if you weren't thinking outside of Portland.
If you were to get out, like, man, you'd have to drive an hour to go to some town that's maybe it's a couple thousand people.
Yep.
What would that look like?
No question. No question in my mind.
I mean, it was a question.
Well, it is a question, but it's so clear in my mind. I would go to Sisters, Oregon.
Okay.
Sisters, Oregon is in the east of the mountains, and you are in now the desert. That's what's so beautiful about Oregon is you could be in the ocean along the coast in 1 hour from Salem, Oregon, and another 2 to 2.5 hours you are in Sisters and Bend, Oregon. Bend, Oregon is the recreation capital of the Northwest, really. It's just absolutely spectacular. And a small little country town built around kind of motif of a cowboy village kind of thing. Not too dissimilar to a city that you would be familiar with, Joseph, in Washington State called Leavenworth. Leavenworth is a little Bavarian town that's just the cutest thing you'd ever find. Well, Sisters falls in that category.
You just gave a cross promotion to episode 1.
Really?
Where we talked about Leavenworth. So, again, I mean, just the amazingness of this product that we're putting out right now. Just confirmed. Episode 1 looped back to episode 5.
It's like the Star Wars saga, really. When you get into episode 5 and you're going back to, it's all connecting.
Wash, rinse, repeat. Let's go.
Yeah. So Sisters, Oregon, I think is just a great little city over on the east side. If you want better weather, if it's warmer, you want warmer weather, you're getting on the other side of the mountains. If you want snow, where you wouldn't have that closer to the coast, you go there. So there's just such a cool 4 seasons kind of a approach to what a lot of the West Coast doesn't have. West Coast tends to be 3 seasons. I don't know if you knew that in the Midwest.
We only have 2 here, winter and summer.
It's snow and summer.
Yeah.
Well, we've got pretty much a 3-season approach with like once or twice it'll snow in winter, but it's beautiful because you can get to the east side of the mountains and now you're experiencing all of the varied weather patterns that you kind of love, but you love and hate at the same time.
Let's jump here for a little bit. I know you're passionate about bringing groups on trips, so out of the country, and you have for many years brought groups to do some Holy Land tours, to do some biblical tours over in the Jerusalem to Rome. I know you're thinking about or going to be doing one in Egypt.
Yep.
Talk to us about that as far as just going with a group and the benefits maybe of going with a group.
Yeah, we've gotten into a rhythm now where we've led, my wife and I and a few other folks will join together and lead to, again, like you said, to Jerusalem, the larger Israel area. We've done kind of navigating different paths, like whether it be the Apostle Paul from the New Testament or Jesus from the New Testament. So we've just taken these little journeys. There's trade-offs when you do individual travel versus group travel. Individual travel, you're given a lot more of your own freedom to be able to veer off and do your own thing. And yet the other side of that coin is a lot of times it can be overwhelming. You can feel kind of stuck. You can look at a guidebook or you can do a lot of research online and just not know what to do.
Yeah.
Not know where to go. That's important to see while you're there. Number 2, maybe not know some of the protocols, whether it be what you're to wear or if it's safe at that particular time. And here's what I mean by that. Sure. Every time we've ever gone to the Middle East, let's call it, to Jordan, um, Petra, Israel, Rome, Greece, there's always a sense of you're in someone else's area, and we don't necessarily understand all the nuance, what's happening politically, what's happening with in terms of conflict. By going with a group and having a guide and other things, you've got this built-in sense of wisdom and knowledge that can help divert. We've had times where we've been planning to go to, say, what's called the Temple Mount. It is Palestinian controlled, it's Arab, and there can be conflict there.
Civil unrest going on there at the old temple.
A little bit of unrest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've had it diverted. We've opted to go earlier in the week versus later in the week because a sense of something brewing. And that's just, and so even as I say that, individuals could go, I'll never go there. No. Yeah. Okay, here's what I would say to that. I have never felt more safe than I have in Israel and in Rome and Greece. I have always just went and thought, this might be one of the greatest things I've ever done. Yeah. And it felt safe and protected. They are for tourists. And you hear horror stories, but they're so limited and they get blown up in the media oftentimes. So group travel is really a blast. It's a shared commonality of people going, did you see that?
Yes.
Oh my, did you just see that? Yes. Versus if you saw it alone or maybe just with one other person, there's not this shared commonality of, wow, that was incredible.
You and I probably one of my most meaningful experiences in travel actually was with you when we were on the island of Patmos for the Orthodox Easter, and just being there, just getting off a cruise ship and in the midnight, all the candles and the lights and the donging and the bells ringing and little kids out, and again that was a moment where we had a tour. And we could do, stay on the boat, or we can go here or there. And we elected to, with some others, just to go. We're going to jump into the fray, and again, you can wander a little bit, and wander. Yeah. We did that night of just walking around, and you could see some different stuff. So it's not always, line by line. You have to go do this or that with your your tours.
No, the beauty of these group tours is that they build in flexible breathing time. Whether it be after touring has ended around dinner, oftentimes we will maximize that evening where after dinner's done, we'll put a jacket on and we'll hit the streets. And you just hit the streets by yourself and go with a group, maybe a smaller group of people that you want to hang out with into the wee hours and explore places that a tour wouldn't necessarily take you to.
Yeah, a tour is not going to bring you to the ramen shop that's around the corner from the Parthenon in Rome. Yeah, it's just not going to bring you there. But if you wander,
but I dream about that fortnitely. I dream about that.
If you wander around the corner, you might find it. So yeah,
and that's the beauty of wandering. The beauty of wandering is that you just kind of, in a sense, put your phone away, put the map away. You don't get lost. Well, yeah. Although you do sort of get lost, you're finding yourself weaving through back streets and alleys and getting places that you wouldn't have necessarily gotten.
Oh, you got a trip coming up. Do you have any openings for that trip?
Yes.
So hey,
we've always got openings.
This is unpaid pub for you. Okay, you're not paying me any endorsement fees.
Yeah. So we've always got openings. Our next trip that is being shifted at this very moment. As the world kind of grapples with the effects of COVID-19 and all this kind of stuff going on, we will find ourselves moving different trips around. So our next one is in 2021, and it starts in Egypt, works its way up through the Sinai Peninsula into Jordan.
Wow.
Petra on up into Amman, and it cuts across into Israel, crossing the Jordan River, and then tours all of Israel, including the Dead Sea and Masada. And
whoa,
amazing.
How long is that trip?
That's like a 16-day trip.
That's amazing.
It's that kind of stuff that gets me so amped, because not only is it things that I'll see for the first time. I've never been to Egypt, but it's also the kind of thing where I have been to Petra in the country of Jordan, And when I see other people's eyes light up when they go into what was, I think at one point, this one of the seven wonders of the world,
Yeah.
You just want to stand back and watch their face and watch their eyes and watch their mouth drop. And that's sometimes the greatest joy for me traveling.
Fun.
Hey, I'll mention one more thing here, Joseph, and I just thought of it as I saw Dublin in my reflection on this call. We collect Starbucks cups every country we go to and city, and I had the option this morning before I got on this call with you. I grabbed Dublin, but I almost grabbed the Twin Cities. There, I have that as well. And I think that's the cool thing about travel is whether it be the Twin Cities, which, by the way, if you were to ask me a little further, what other cities have captured my imagination, I would add to it, and then I'll get back to Dublin. I would add to it the Twin Cities.
Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota.
Having grown up in that area, I don't think I knew what was there.
Yes. Correct.
The second thing would be another one, and you exposed me to this one, Joseph, and I'll be forever grateful. And that was a trip to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that to me, I'd never been. Growing up in all my years in Wisconsin, never fully explored the Twin Cities, never ever went to Milwaukee, which is criminal.
Never went to Green Bay.
Never went to Green Bay. We lived a very sheltered life. We really did. And we could talk about that. But that's sometimes the thing that's driven you and I now is we look and say, we didn't have a lot of that exposure as young kids, whether it be didn't have the money, two working parents.
Yeah.
We now have kind of ricocheted to where it's like, and you give me an opportunity. And by the way, now you have kids this way and I have kids this way that are always thinking, what's next? What's next? Where are we going to go? Yeah. So Dublin, and maybe I could have grabbed the Twin Cities. I grabbed Dublin as a reminder of the one time I went to Dublin to see this little band.
So there's another band. It's a little bit bigger than Death Cab for Cutie.
Just a little bigger.
Yeah.
North side of Dublin. Been together 35 plus years. Little band called U2.
And you saw them in their home city.
Yes, it was the band itself was icing on the cake. The cake, this rich, deep, layered cake was the city of Dublin. If you could ask me right now, where would I go back anywhere in the world that I've been to already and can't wait to get back to?
It's my job to ask the questions.
Well,
so all the places you've went to in the world, where would you like to go back to?
Dublin.
How
about you?
Go back to. I'd want to go back to Luxembourg. Like I'd love to just spend weeks and weeks just driving the hills of Luxembourg and the small little towns.
We'll do that soon, Joe.
Northern France, just driving around too is amazing. I don't ever need to go back to Paris. I mean, I would, but I don't need to. Where's a place that's just on your like, man, if I could go, I haven't been. Like, where's that place in your maybe not necessarily in the near future, but kind of a dream list, bucket list type of a place.
I think you just mentioned it. You've been to Luxembourg. I have not, and that's our heritage. We're in the process of this reclamation of our birthright and getting our passport and getting identified as citizens of Luxembourg right now. I have not gone. I would go there. I'm going to group some cities. I'm going to group some regions. If I don't even know what they are necessarily.
You're going to go Asia with me. You're going to go Asia.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're in like Cambodia, Thailand,
Vietnam.
Okay. Yeah.
Bangkok. Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Like that is so intriguing to me.
You're in a cutout canoe in the inner city where they have little boats. You're just going up to the market and you're grabbing food. I'm there with you. I mean, I hope you have me with you because your wife isn't going to go there.
No. Oh, you're in the canoe with me, buddy.
My wife won't come with me either. So yeah,
those places are different. My wife loves, and your wife loves to travel too.
yeah.
Our girls will travel with us, but it's those places that I think are intriguing to me, less exciting and intriguing to my wife,
Yes.
Denise. Yeah.
And I would go there specifically to eat. How do you deal with you being a wanderer and your wife maybe likes to wander but not much? How do you deal with that?
Okay.
And
Yeah. Well, we're hitting 30 years of being married, and these are things you have to figure out as you go about your spouse or your partner. You we've concluded my wife is much more of a homebody, much more of an introvert, and I'm more of a dreamer, wanderer, and so you have to allow each other that kind of space, and in the partnership together is I have to also not overshoot in terms of the amount of trips I want to go on at any given time, because coupled with her stay homeness is her lovely desire to keep us out of or get us out of debt. And so that's one of
overrated.
those things. Yeah, I don't think that way. I just think about what's next. What's the next opportunity?
Yeah.
And let's charge it. Let's do what we need to do
Yeah.
to make it happen. But I've also learned that if my wife isn't necessarily keen to go, my kids are. So over the years, I've found a rhythm of creating these little markers in my children's life. I call them, I have 3 boys and 1 daughter, but for my boys, I call them mandates. So mandates where we will travel to places and do things together that become these markers or rites of passage,
Mm-hmm.
whether they be 8 years old, 12, 16, or 18. Those are kind of the markers along the way. So they're just opportunities to take my children in places, and they get exposed to Israel,
Yeah.
Nairobi, the different big cities that we've been able to go to. I can take them with me sometimes. So that's how I work it out with my fact that my wife is not necessarily one that wants to go everywhere at every moment with me on every whim that I have.
Yeah. Good stuff. Any other words you want to give to your fellow wanderers out there?
Yeah, I would finish with this one. For me, is I've done a ton of global travel, and that's kind of what we focused on a little bit on the second half of
Mm-hmm.
this episode. But I would
That was
recall
episode
back
5, by the way.
episode 5.
Yeah.
I would go back though to the first half and just remind you that whether it be small, mid-sized towns, large cities, I would encourage you, whether it be Portland or Minneapolis or wherever you live near that has a big city, you can explore in whatever size you have. So an example is about 3 to 5 times a week, I'll just go grab my coffee in what's called downtown Salem and just walk with my coffee up and down the streets. And it's repetitive, I understand, because it's the same streets that I keep walking up and down. But every time I seem to find something, whether I look up, look down, or a conversation with someone that I'm encountering, it's usually about the people. It's not usually about the architecture or the streets. It's about the people I encounter. So everywhere you go is an opportunity to explore. It doesn't have to be global. It doesn't have to be in an airplane going to the farthest stretches of the world. You can explore everywhere you're at.
Yeah. No, that's what we're all about here at Small Town Wanderers, and this episode of Fellow Wanderers, of just getting out and seeing what's around you. Again, you and I both grew up where we basically had about an hour and a half radius and of going around us, and part of that circle was blocked off because it was hitting Minneapolis, St. Paul, and we only got to go to the Minneapolis or St. Paul Science Museum for a field trip.
Right.
And I just, we never experienced it, again, for various reasons, but it's around you. No matter if you are 4 hours from a big city or not, there's something that can be explored around you, and you don't want to miss those opportunities. So wherever you are, get out and explore. Well, thank you for jumping on, my brother, from the same mother and father. Just want to make that clear. I think.
Clear about that.
So thanks for jumping on from Oregon, and again, just thanks for all you're doing, and get out there and travel and enjoy life with your family. Say hi to your kids and Denise for us here.
You as well. Take care, Bill.